Well, hello there. This is your 10-minute sound design lunch break while you're at work video. And my name is Artifact, and I like to make bass sounds. And I've got many presets on my website for Vital and Phase Plant. But this is one that I've made today for a change for Vital because of a loyal subscriber on the channel, Mr. Mike Briggs. This one is dedicated directly to you, sir, because Mike Briggs, I believe, probably has the record for most consistent commenting on all of my videos. Even when I've uploaded a video at some silly time in the morning and I've got 33 views and it's just not going anywhere, Mike will always be there to give me that little comment and be like, oh, you've reached one person, you've done your job. I like to make sound design videos. For me, it's like sometimes it's like a therapeutic thing, you know, and I'm not like trying to take over the whole YouTube industry with my niche neurofunk sound design videos. I know that's not possible, but however, I just enjoy making the videos, and I hope you guys learn something as well. And today I'm going back to the darkness. So I've got a dark bass ARP kind of thing made with Vital, and it sounds like this. Very juicy, if you wouldn't mind me saying so. So let's dive into this one because we've used all the effects. We've even made some macros. I haven't even named the patch yet, but I will do briefly. But it's a dark marching kind of bass. And let's just kind of run through everything that's on there. And we basically have two saw waves at two different octaves and a sine wave, which is sitting underneath all of them, okay? And so the first saw wave we can have here is up at -12. And the second one here at 0. Okay, so pretty aggressive and harsh so far. Okay, so we're going to filter these two already. The phase randomization is off, but one of them is at 180 and one of them is at 0. So that means the one at 180 obviously starts in the middle, and the one at 0 starts at the beginning. So they have slightly different starting points, and that plays an integral role in the actual end result of the sound. So let's quickly get away from that horrible high-end saw wave nonsense and slamming on the oscillator 1 and 2 into a low-pass filter, which actually opens up to be a bit of a band pass, as you can see here, and I've modulated it to sort of become a little bit more of a band pass as it goes up, and also the cutoff is modulating to go up, and this is what it then sounds like. So we have our LFO here, just a saw down, really simple dotted notes, a quarter is the tempo here. And what I already do now, before I add in the next sine wave, is I put on the distortion, because the whole patch was made with the distortion turned on. So the soft clipping all the way up, and the drive is right near the top. I've just got a little bit of movement on the drive, like a little few percent of push that's going on the LFO, but it's pretty much all the way up. Okay, so pretty extreme. But how is the distortion going to react when we put in a sine wave underneath it all? And this sine wave is not having any movement on. It's not going through the oscillator. So you've got the two saw waves with the pumping low pass filter, and the sine wave is just running alongside all of it, and it's all slamming into the distortion. Okay, so two with the movement and one flat, and that's what you got, baby. And as I mentioned, I modify the low pass to open up to become a bit more of a band pass, because if you don't do that, it's just quite a different tone. You know, when I had that on, got a really lovely result there. And over here, the cutoff is set to 43 Hertz. Okay, so that's kind of going up and down wonderfully, and I thought I would just also quickly add in a little bit of noise, and this is a pipeline. This is like I made some convoluted kind of white noise layers that you can download. I think they're free on my website, they were free on Patreon. I don't know where they are anymore, to be honest, but you can make your own little white noise kind of samples. You just like use white noise, put some phasers on and filter them and do stuff and create your own little like kind of high-end layers, you know. This one here is the filter, which is just going to only filter the noise and just make it a high pass, you know. So you don't hear it so much because it's sort of going through all this distortion. Just adding a little crunch on top to go on the LFO. So that's pretty much everything. Oh, actually, I lie. Because if those of you heard, there's a little pitch movement in, and that's actually not in the MIDI. I've programmed a pitch movement for you, Mike Briggs, Mike Briganti 101 at yahoo.org. I've programmed that in the pitch on a little arpeggiator kind of thing. So in the advanced, I've put my LFO here to the transpose up 12, so we've got a whole octave. Then I've made a grid which has 12 over here, so 12 notes, so you've got an octave to play with, and 16 blocks for the length, and set that to 2/1. And here now, if you were to download this patch, should I make it available? I'm not sure. I might put it as a free download. Let's see at the end of this recording. But you can follow along and make this. I don't think I really need to. You can the pipeline part is really, you can use white noise. It won't make a big difference. The rest of it though, you can follow along quite easily. I would say and copy it yourself. I think you should do that because then you learn a bit more as well. And I can save this for a future preset pack perhaps. Anyway, continuing on. So this is sort of the arpeggiator that I've set up, and yeah, you can go wild now. You can really create your own whole kind of melodic movement, but I just like the little subtle little twists here and there. That's a bit more drum and bass for me, kind of sticking to that root note with just a little quick twist here and there. But that's the other part I have in the kind of voicing section, so that's all done. Anyway, we'll move on to the effects. And yeah, so once we've got all that lovely movement going on and the distortion and all of that, you know, distortion kind of, you know, we got a really like enjoyable mix from the saw waves being filtered plus the sine wave just cramming into the distortion and the low pass turning into a band pass a little bit. We got that really nice dark feeling already. And the problem is, you know, I've done everything in just sort of mono essentially. It just doesn't have that stereo interest yet, and it's actually quite key to the sound for this particular tone to have arisen, that the sort of oscillators were in mono to begin with, you know. So but now we get the joy of using the wonderful vital chorus because it is a beautiful sound, this one. So I might have even gone a slight bit too much with it, just listening back now. Got a little bit more power back at 25%, quite a good range, you know. I'm sacrificing a bit of the mono power here, but I'm getting a lovely stereo signal to as a trade-off. So 25% seems pretty good. What I do with the chorus is you can check what kind of, I'll tend to leave it up first always. You've probably seen this in other videos, but I'll leave it up. I'll play with the voices perhaps first. I'll settle with 8, and then I'll try to match the delays and the depth and everything to kind of fit with the original sound before it's chorused. So I'm adding in that chorus signal in such a way where it feels like it kind of fits better and it becomes more of a cohesive sound. Okay, so once that's sort of done with the mix up, because where you can hear the chorus harmonics better, then I'll mix it back down again. Okay, the compressor, kind of the OTT, I'm just using it on the mix knob to add a little bit of a high-end push. leave all the settings, just turn the attack up a little bit, the release down a bit, and then mix in the effect. Just gives it a little bit of like extra brightness at the start of the note, so that fits in with the sort of dynamic shape. I've literally got a 0.1% delay, which is just for the little realistic tail, and then I've got literally also a tiny bit of a phaser filter, which I actually put a macro to adjust this later, so it becomes a little bit more. We'll go over the macros in a minute, but it becomes a little bit more interesting. Well, you get a different variation essentially. But yeah, on the normal setting, the mix is just coming off. So basically, it just shapes the mid-range ever so slightly. Okay. The flanger, I've used this quite high amount, and this is actually going on the LFO. So every time you have this part where the pitch goes up in the sort of arpeggiator I've played, the flanger effect comes on, and you don't really notice it so much, but it's nice to know that it's going to make each note sort of slightly more flanged when you do that. And there's a tiny reverb at the end, like 1.5%. Again, that's not very exciting. We've got a little high-end boost with an EQ to finish off. But then basically, the other couple of things I did to make it a little bit more playable is I had a brightness macro put on here. Just tracking the cutoff of the main first two saw waves, essentially. That's all that's doing. Slowing down the main LFO just a little bit, so you can have a bit of a slower version. Yeah. The first setting obviously has the best kind of groove for this drum beat. Then I've got Tony, which is just a variation on the whole tonality of everything. And that's just done with the filter that I added at the end, the phaser filter. So the Tony macro, it turns up the phaser filter mix all the way, okay? And then it just moves the cutoff position a little bit higher and drives the filter up as well to make it a bit louder. So that'd be a great thing to, like, if you've got a long bass line and you don't want it to be so unrealistically similar, you can you can automate the Tony, up and down slowly, or you can have like a call and response part where like one of them is on and one of them's off, or the other, you know what I mean. But it's more of a subtle macro for this patch. It was just a subtle variation, but it does help if you're composing with it to have that in there. So that's why I did it. Anyway, I'll save this preset quickly as the Dark March, and I'll make this one available to download in case you guys want it. I'll put that on my Patreon as well, and you don't have to pay to join to get this one. You can just grab it for free. So thank you very much for watching me talk about my own bass creations today. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a little bit from it. And thank you for all your support on the channel. My G's always means a lot to me. Take care. Much love. See you tomorrow.